said basketball players would probably just as soon be in the gym as they would be, you know, on the track or running on the soccer field or doing shuttles in a gym. So I think basketball practice is where they'd rather be. So and just the idea that we start a little earlier, but we give them more days off is probably a good thing too. You know, with I think as many nicks and bruises as kids have by the time or players have by the time they get to college. You know, the idea of going five days in a row or 6 days in a row for practice is not as realistic as it was 20 some years ago or whenever I started.
I'm trying to think about how to ask this without making it sound like an indictment on any past teams, but it's kind of impossible. Like you guys went to the Elite Eight, and then your players were kind of right back in the gym after that. They didn't have like a sense of like accomplishment. It was almost like a sense of that tasted good. Let's do that again. Like, did that surprise you a little bit that they just got right back to work?
No, I think, and I said this to some people the other day too, is I think this group likes to be in the gym as much as any group that I've coached. And I think sometimes I'll stand in front of some people and say that our kids like to play, but it's never been more true than about this team probably. And like I said, I played in this golf event yesterday, and I know we did some video shoots over in the Ruth, and they had turned off the light sensors to to make sure that people weren't walking in and out and ruining the lighting during the video shoots. And so nobody turned the sensors back on in the Ruth after the video shoots yesterday afternoon. And Lauren Jensen texted Carly Berger and said, "Hey, how do I get the light? The lights. I can't get the lights to turn on because they're not." And anyway, Carly texted her back later and said, "Hey, did you get the lights on?" And Lauren said, "No, I shot in the dark." So that's, I think, indicative of where we are. And Rachel, I guess, Saunders texted and said, "Hey, when are the lights coming back on?" Because so anyway, I think we have a group that likes to be in the gym. So I've never shot in the dark, nor have I shot the lights out.
Because of what the team did this last season, have you noticed just even more kind of attention being on the program and maybe just felt just some of that more exposure because of what you guys were able to do?
Yeah, we were talking about that this morning in terms of just how many early high school, freshmen and sophomores in high school want to visit, from outside the area, outside of Omaha and outside of, further away than Lincoln and Des Moines. And, but we've got players from further away who are interested in visiting even as freshmen and sophomores. And I think that's attributable to, the more exposure that we got particularly late in the year. But, I think, we've got a group coming in next Tuesday to film a day with the Blue Jays or something. It's I don't know, Glenn could tell you more than I could, but it's I think their official name is March Madness, and they're going around to different programs throughout the month to kind of do a day in the life, and they picked us, and I'm not sure that would have happened if we hadn't done what we did last year. I think because I know that the day that I talked to Glenn about what I was talking about the details, and he said, "Well, they're at Baylor today, so they're not going to, Southwest, Northeast Junior College. They're coming to programs that I assume they think would be that people would want to see." So those are some things I think that we're seeing that are different.
Obviously, we could make a narrative as the media, but I guess after going to the Elite Eight, I guess, do you feel a sense of urgency within the program to kind of carry out that momentum, or what's the feeling like within the program?
Yeah, I think you have that. I think it's it's either that or you can maybe relax. But I don't think the mentality within our team has been that. And I think the good news is we still have enough youth that I feel like we have an enthusiasm about us. I mean, if you look at our roster, we only have in the COVID era, we only have one fourth year kid and one fifth year player on our roster, and everybody else is first through third year, which and we're hoping some of those third year players stay 3 more years. So I think that helps. They're not looking at I got to get my resume ready and for a job outside of basketball, and I think that can maybe help us stay hungry, but also just an understanding of how close we were, and first of all how competitive we were on a national level, and how close, but how close the difference between not quite being there and being there is, and I think that's going to be helpful to our team this year, and just the competitiveness of our practices. I think I've said this a lot. We don't really have a bottom of our roster. I mean, our players who don't get to play as much are better than they've ever been at any point since I've been here. It's not we bring guys into practice and help us, but it's not because we can't challenge. If I put our 5 best players together, it's not like our next kids can't challenge them in a practice setting.
Looking at the schedule, I assume the South Dakota and South Dakota State games are on the flip from last year, playing them here. But Stanford, is that something you added this off season?
Yeah, yeah. I was looking at a time frame, and there's a website, and it said that they were looking for games, and so I just called and said, "Hey, we can play that day. Are you interested?" And they said yes. So we're not getting a return out of it. We're gonna take a 1-year guarantee, which is fine. I mean, we wouldn't do that with a lot of schools, and we wouldn't do that 2 or 3 or 4 times for one season, but we'll do it one time. And I think because we didn't really have a trip, we didn't have a Thanksgiving or a Christmas trip, so I think we'll go out there a couple of days ahead of time and see the Bay Area and then play that game. But yeah, sometimes you just get on a website and find a game, and especially when you get down to the end, when you early on you think it's phone call and word of mouth and whatever, but then by the end you're like, okay, I got to find a game on this particular day, and then it becomes difficult because you want it to kind of fit what you're looking for. So we'll actually play Stanford on the 20th, and then our next game will be UConn. So we'll play back-to-back games against Final Four opponents. And believe it or not, Don Staley had called me not long before that. They were looking to play somebody in the Pentagon up in Sioux Falls, and we couldn't get a date, but we could have had a back-to-back Final Four teams. So I think our players would have found that quite cool, but we couldn't find a date.
When it comes to Lauren, you saw how many clutch moments she had last year. Where did you want her to improve her game from last season to this season?
Oh, she's stronger. Like she's physically, in fact, we had a team meeting early in the fall, and I was making fun of her because I'm like, you're going to probably start wearing more sleeveless shirts because your arms are, more defined. And I think the durability, the durability, the strength is huge for her, because if you could give her one knock, it'd be that she's a little flimsy or whatever the term you might need for that. But I think she's really done a good job of building up her body, and because you naturally lose weight during the season too, especially when you have her frame. But and then the great thing we've seen, and we can't do it all the time, but we've tried to put Rachel and Lauren opposite each other a lot in practice in our workouts, because I think a lot of the times this year Rachel will guard the other team's best player, so it's great for Rachel to have to chase Lauren and then guard her when she catches it, and it's great for Lauren to have to work against a 5th-year senior who's a physical veteran defender, and so those two will obviously have to play a lot together at some point. But it's been fun to watch them have to navigate against each other, and I think that'll help Lauren, because I think Lauren's gonna, she's gonna draw that best perimeter defender pretty consistently. So I think that's good that we've got somebody like Rachel who can do that. So, but yeah, those are probably the areas where I'd say she's. So.
You look at this conference, I think the goal, of course, is always to try to beat UConn.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you saw the Paige Becker's injury, and that
Yeah.
was super significant.
Yeah.
And I don't think she played when
Correct.
Paige hosted them at home again this year, but just, obviously she's a very huge impact on their court for them. So kind of, again, not having her this year, I know they're
Yeah.
still talented, but how do you kind of look at that as an opportunity maybe for your team?
Yeah, I mean, you want to be careful not to publicly state how strong or strongly publicly state that that's going to affect them, but it is. I mean, she's one of the, even coming off an injury, she was probably going to be one of the 5 best players in our sport, and so to not have her available, especially when you look at their roster, they've got enough bigs, but they're pretty thin at the guard spot. They went out and signed a European kid really late, but I think that's just because they needed depth. So I do think there's, if you look back at the 2 games we played, we lost by 8 at their place and we led them at half. I mean they're still clearly the favorite, but Paige's injury is significant. I think in terms of just how good she is, but also what you look at their guard depth is not probably what he would want it to be, and from a confidence standpoint, they lost 3 other players who were drafted, and all 3 of them made team, or well, I guess one of them was hurt, so we don't know if she would have made the team, but made teams. So I mean, they lost, those kids too. So I think there's a chance for the rest of us.
Anything further for Coach Flanery?
What have you seen from your newcomers that have stood out?
Well, Keani Lockett, our point guard from the Minneapolis area, is almost cleared to play. She had a knee injury in January and had surgery, but there's a potential that she'll be cleared here in the next week or 2. So it'll be good to get her on the court. And then Kennedy Townsend, our freshman guard from the Kansas City area, has done really well. She reminds me of Molly. She's strong, really strong, consistent, good. I think she's gonna have an impact this year. And then Brittany Harshaw, our wing player from the Wichita area, really shoots it, and I think she's long. She's easily probably 6'1" and I think if she can get a little stronger, she's got a chance to help us this year too.
Anything further for Coach Flanery?
Thanks, you guys.